Hello, everybody, and welcome to OBS Screw Up Edition version 1000. I don't know what the devil's going on with this thing. Just prior to me getting started, when I was normally supposed to get started, it decided that it was going to completely ignore the fact that I had photos open, which is kind of an ongoing problem. And nothing that I could do to change the scenario would solve it. So I had to restart my whole computer, and now the audio is sounding choppy. Yay. Yeah, I'm really getting sick of OBS. Fine after reloading, thankfully. Okay, so maybe it was just a bitrate issue. I don't know what's going on. Hope everybody's having a better day than I'm having a go with this OBS stuff. I'm getting pretty ticked off at the old OBS. I think Streamlab Elements might be in the near future, assuming I have, an entire 2 or 3 days to learn an entire new system on the fly. Welcome to Adventures in History. Hey, hope everybody's doing all right. Hope everybody's had a good day. I was having a pretty good day. I mean, I'm not having a bad day now. It's just super frustrating. I mean, how many times do you have to bang your head against the same wall before either your head breaks or you stop banging your head, right? Apparently the wall's not going anywhere. Life is life, though. How's everybody doing? How are you in your world? What's up with you? I had pizza. 42 is the correct answer. You're goodly. Nice. Had a decent day today. Nice. How's it going, Fid? How are you? I actually did something that I didn't think I would be able to do at work today. And I don't know if I should. Well, I guess I'll just jinx it because it's probably not ever going to happen again. But I got caught up today at work. I have all of the stuff graded that I need to grade, and I have this entire unit ready to go online for all of my classes. And I was feeling really good. And I got home and I even got to take a little bit of a nap, which was amazing. Yeah, I know. And then I was like, everything's going to be amazing. We're going to get on stream and it's going to go great. And then OBS was like, oh, wait. And then drops a bomb on me. That's okay. We're running now. We're doing okay. I'm not dropping frames. So, there's that. Happy times. So, the show is Adventures in History. I think we're all friends. OBS more like, yeah. Yeah. That's perhaps unfortunate, but true. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It could also be that I'm running this on a laptop that is barely keeping up. Also, there's a puppy. Yeah. I just noticed that you can see her butt as she walks out of the room. She wanders back and forth. When she hears me talking, she wants to come and see what I'm doing. But Brittany is up front and doing stuff, so there's noise up there, so she has to go up front and see what Brittany's doing to make sure that nothing is amiss or she's not missing anything interesting up there. She's so nosy. But imagine taking a time machine back to the 7-year-old Shane and tell him that this is what constitutes a great day in his future. Oh man, that would have been like 7-year-old me would not have sat still long enough to listen to you talk about this. She's got to keep track of the humans. Yes, she does. Both of them at all times, preferably in the same room. It's even worse when one of us is outside. Then it's constantly like, stand by the door and whine on this side, stand by the door and whine on that side. It's the inside-outside game. Yeah, 7-year-old me was kind of a punk. Definitely a smart aleck. Um, Much chubbier. I mean, I'm not like skinny now, but I hit a really big growth spurt, like my seventh grade year, uh, and I stretched out a lot. I was kind of a chunky kid, so and just annoying. Man, I must have been horribly annoying as a kid. Like I remember some of the stuff that I did and feel how annoying it was. Well, you also received the Gundam in the mail that you bought with your own money. I did. I did. Chunky Kids Unite. Yeah, so there's good news. I got myself a birthday present. My birthday's not till next week. I didn't know how long it would take to come in, but I bought myself a Gundam model. So I don't know how many of you all are familiar with Gundams. I know that we've talked about giant robots before in the past on the stream, but there's actually a little corner of Twitch now that has started doing model building as a streaming thing. So I think I might give that a shot sometime. Uh, so as soon as I can figure out how to rig up two cameras and see if it works and work out a new lighting structure so that everybody can see what's going on, I might do a model building stream. The plan is to do a model building stream. I don't know when it's going to be because honestly, it could take a while for me to sort of work out the logistics. I would also need to do something for music in the background, and that's a whole other mess. Nobody wants to mess with Twitch terms of service. So there are plans and there are gears working in the background. Next stream, the history of model building. No, it would not be an adventures in history stream. It would be a model building stream where I would be building a model online. I just realized that if I do like this, it shakes the table really bad. I shouldn't do that. The buttresses. The buttress. She's a Twitch employee. Oh, I did not know that it had reached the level of Twitch employee. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. There are a lot of people that build models. So I'm pretty excited about that opportunity. We'll see how it goes. You just saw the title. Are you now singing the song? Are you singing the song? If you're not singing the song, it didn't work. You're welcome. And you all can actually thank Kilted Preacher for that one. I had a lot of ideas about what to title this one. You're welcome. You're very much welcome. I had a lot of ideas, and they were just sort of all over the place, and they weren't really that good. Some of them were okay. Like, one of them was Thought Blooded, like Foreigner Hot Blooded. It wasn't quite there. And there was another one that was Thought for Teacher, but that would be weird because that would like, I didn't want to like imply that I was some sort of weird fetish target, so I kind of nixed that one. So KP hit us with hit me with your best thought, and I was like, that's great, because in the 100 schools of philosophy there would be so many thoughts flying around, and you could sort of walk around and like, hey, hit me with your best thought. So it's appropriate. It's very appropriate. I like it. It was good. I knew it as soon as I heard it. Like, there's sometimes where we're talking about stream titles and we're bouncing them around, and we get lots of good stuff, but there's that magical moment where it just clicks, and you know, like, yeah, that's it. We also came up with another one for a future stream. When we get around to the Han Dynasty of China and talk about Confucianism, I already have a title for the Confucianism stream. So it's the Buttress. You'll never guess. Her last stream 4 days ago was Ganon Gundam. Oh, I'm actually not familiar with Ganon Gundam. I'll have to make a note to check that one out. If I could, I broke my pen. I usually keep a pen and a piece of paper on here for when people suggest things so that I can jot stuff down, but I broke my pen. But Ganon Gundam, I think I can remember that. That combines two of my favorite things in the world in a happy little medium. Ogre GNX. The one that I got was from the Gundam series Iron-Blooded Orphans. It's called Barbatos. It's a big honkin' scary thing that fights with this giant bladed mace. I'm pretty excited about the concept of that. I don't know how many people have seen Iron-Blooded Orphans. It's on Netflix if you want to try to start watching that before we get to the stream. No sticky notes on your computer. Am I Linux or something? No, I don't actually like using the sticky notes. I'll remember Ganon Gundam. I'm quite intrigued about where they found that. So, all right. Enough of the hemming and hawing. Enough of my whinging. Let's talk about some philosophy. So, we talked last time about the Zhou Dynasty and how the Zhou Dynasty collapsed, and then this big period of time called the Warring States period. And then we talked about this emperor guy named Qin Shi Huang who sort of put everything together and then got a little antsy in his pantsy about too many people thinking too many things and wrecked a whole bunch of stuff. So this period of time in China is actually the foundation of most of their thought processes. So when we think about Western philosophy and we think Plato and Socrates and Aristotle, you know, those good Greek philosophers, that's sort of the basis of Western philosophy. This period of time in China is the basis for Chinese philosophy. And just like the Greeks, this is going to be sort of stuff that affects them all the way up until now. There are still elements of these philosophical ideas that get brought up and used in Chinese politics today, Chinese culture today. So, you know, again, this is in the Eastern Zhou period is where it starts off. I'm glad the photos are showing. Yay, look at there. Eastern Zhou. This goes from about 771 BC until the 200s BC. Well, I guess it depends on when you say that the Zhou ended. Did it end when the giant civil war started, or did it end when the last Zhou emperor, or not emperor, king got pushed out? And we can argue about where it ended, but Eastern Zhou period is pretty important. Warring States period is pretty important. And the guy that sort of ruined it all, of course, was Qin Shi Huang. In case you want a refresher about what that guy looked like. It's this beautiful specimen of a man responsible for the destruction of lots of these ideas. So, where do we start? Well, kind of there. We start with the Eastern Zhou, and Qin Shi Huang had his own sort of pet ideology that was called legalism. If I center that, what would it look like? No, sir, I don't like it. Legalism. We talked about this a little bit last stream on Thursday. But we didn't really get too much further past just follow the rules. That was basically the whole thing, just follow the rules, right? So where did this idea come from? Back in the 400s BC, there were a lot of pretty important philosophers that were in this 100 schools of philosophy period that started working on this idea of legalism. You have people like Shen Buhai and Shang Yang and Shen Dao, all these people that I'm sure everybody are, you know, you're super familiar with all these Chinese philosopher names. I'm just, you know, throwing them out there for fun. But the guy that is probably what I would consider the most important is a dude named Han Fei. Yeah, totally. Yeah, everybody knows Shenwu Hai. Shang Gang, that guy's my homie. Han Fei, though, Han Fei is kind of the dude that takes all of these disparate ideas of legalism and sort of standardizes them. And he writes a book that he titles pretty much after himself, the Han Fei Z, which is basically like the manual for legalism. Like if you want to follow legalist thought ideas, here's how you do it. Here are the tenets, if you will, of legalism. Now, of course, we know that if you look for tenets of other places, like the tenets of Doctor Who, that's David. But this is different. This is the tenets of nobody. Okay. I realize that you all don't have instantaneous response, but I thought that was a pretty decent little joke. That's how I would have imagined an old Chinese philosopher to look like. Yeah. I've got a few pictures of old Chinese philosophers, so we'll talk about them. What is up with this idea of legalism? Basically, it's built around this concept of aliens. I feel like I'm doing the aliens' hands. Aliens. Legalism says that all power in the country should be held by the emperor. And that emperor should be an autocratic ruler, and that emperor should have unlimited and universal power within the country. But there is some expectation. The expectation is that the emperor will act both rationally and logically. I think we all know that when you create dictatorial autocrats, it's not very common that you find them acting rationally and logically. It seems to be that the crazy dictator is more common than the benevolent dictator, right? And as you might expect, you got to handle that. If you're a philosophy, how do you explain that? Well, guess what? Legalism has a whole section of rationale on why people are bad. And essentially, they say that human nature is to be selfish. So the base emotion of humankind is selfishness. So why then give unlimited power to a selfish individual? That's just how we like our dictators. I don't like dictators at all. I don't know how you like your dictators. I don't think I want a benevolent dictator either, because that person will inevitably have a son who's a jerk, which is usually how it works. So how then, if human beings are selfish, are we expected for one person to rule well? Well, the idea is that the emperors have the power, but they are supposed to be constrained by their own rational laws. Now, that's a neat idea, but if you can make laws basically by, fiat, you can just say this is now the law, and you have a bad day, are you going to use your rationale to not be selfish? Pretty clearly not. And Han Fei is going to be very popular under Qin Shi Huang's rule. Han Fei had died prior to Qin Shi Huang taking over. But Li Si, the guy that was sort of Qin Shi Huang's right-hand man, the creepy-looking dude that ended up getting killed because he poisoned somebody, he was a direct sort of student of Han Fei's book and teachings. So these ideas are going to carry over a lot, and Qin Shi Huang is going to be all about this idea of emperors should have all the power. Legalism says that problems inside of a country come from this uncomfortable relationship between the person that's in charge and rich folk, the aristocracy. And legalism says that there should not be aristocrats, that the people that run the country should not be the fancy rich people. They should be bureaucrats. And of course, these bureaucrats would be chosen by the emperor for stuff like their merit, not for the amount of money that they have. The aristocrats. It's okay. No, it's fine. You do you, Stefan Amelie. I appreciate it. There is also trouble in legalism philosophy between the powerful and the subordinate. So the boss and the employee. And all of these problems, of course, come from being selfish. So the ruler is supposed to be a selfless ruler, and aristocrats are viewed as ultimately selfish because that's how they got all of their money. And employers are supposed to be sort of the benevolent leader, and employees are always the problem because, you know, they want stuff like living wage and health care and basic human rights. It's just selfish, right? See, now I'm getting a little bit off topic. But the people in positions of power under legalism are expected to be wise. They're supposed to listen to the teachings of legalism. They're supposed to listen to their advisors. Hey, Gypsy Queen, how's it going? And welcome. So, all of this, of course, sounds really nice and fancy. Lots of high ideals, but again, you got to keep coming back to this. If your philosophy teaches that humans are like selfish jerks, how do you keep them in line? Well, you might not be surprised that legalism is all about some punishment. Punishment is the way you keep people in line. You punish them for everything. If they step a toe out, you come down with the harshness. It's not really warm and fuzzy. You're supposed to follow the rules, and if you don't follow the rules, the law comes at you. Pesky peasants who want to live past the ripe old age of childbirth. Wow. Yeah. You're doing good. You just got off work. You thought you'd drop in and see what amazing stuff we're talking about today. We're talking about Chinese philosophy and how ancient Chinese people thought about the world and tried to organize this stuff. During the end of the Zhou dynasty, there was this period of time where there were supposedly 100 different schools of thought that talked about everything that the world could potentially use to explain. And so we're hitting kind of the highlights. We're not going through all 100 of them. I would be here until this time next week. And I'm sure that I would need to eat at least once between now and then. But we're hitting sort of the big ones. So we're talking right now about legalism, which was one of the biggest ones under the early imperial Chinese dynasty of the Qin dynasty. So there we go. Tell a story of hell and punishment. Sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell. I was told this by Cake, the band, so it must be accurate. I've heard that the gravedigger puts on the forceps, but the stonemason's the one that does all the work. I don't know if anybody likes the band Cake. They're one of my favorite hangover bands from the 90s. Not that I listened to them when I had a hangover, but that I carry them over into my life now and still listen to them. I'm not making much sense. I should probably shut up before I dig myself into a hole. If you dig far enough under the earth, the Inca believed that you would dig into hell. So there's another little hell story. And if you're interested in hell and punishment, we actually did an entire stream on underworld stuff. So you can roll back through the VODs in a bit and check those out, Lone Wolf. And welcome. I didn't say welcome. I should be more kind. And not be selfish, like legalism says that I am. All right. So there's legalism. What about some stuff that you probably know a little bit about? The good old yin yang naturalists. Everybody knows yin yang naturalists, right? Everybody's seen, well, I mean, that's Han Fei, the smoking hot, smoldering legalist mind. Everybody knows this thing, though, right? Everybody drew this in your notebook as a kid in school and never really got it perfect because you didn't have freehand drawing skills. Or maybe I'm just projecting on you what happened with me. But this is the yin yang. Yeah, that was so cool when we were kids, right? So this actually has a whole concept of philosophy behind it. Uh, and this group of people were the ones that sort of brought it to the forefront. Yin and yang are contrasting forces in Chinese philosophy. And yin is coldness and darkness and sort of the negative power, and yang is the heat and the light and the positive. Looks like the Ronin warriors. Oh yeah. Oh no! I don't have Ronin warriors in the background. I have Gundam models and Transformers in the background. I did watch Ronin warriors when I was a kid, though. There are potentially even still embarrassing pictures of me playing with Ronin warrior action figures on the internet from probably about 1995. So yin and yang are these contrasting forces, and this was a way to explain sort of everything in life. And this got into a little bit of medicine where the yin yang naturalists would sort of give you the once over and say, oh, you've got too much, you've been bringing in too much heat into your body, so you need to bring in some cool. You've got too much yang and not enough yin. So you can get kind of diagnosed that way. But they also look at this in a sort of proto-Buddhist way. Buddhism had not spread to China by this point. Did not do so until the very late 2nd century BC. So the concept of yin and yang, though, is a balance, right? Nature exists in a balance, and there is a positive and a negative to everything, and you sort of have to keep everything sort of in the middle so that everything is in harmony with each other. But the yin-yang naturalist took this yin-yang concept and added it to Chinese elemental naturalism. And there's a great picture about that too. Some people may have seen the elements, boom, like that. And you might automatically go, wait a second, this looks nothing like Avatar. Where's the air bending, right? So these are the 5 Chinese elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And you can see here that there are sort of balancing forces amongst them. These are seen as generating the elements of themselves, but also overcoming other elements by power. So this is sort of like your rock, paper, scissors model. Well, I guess we'd have to expand that. This would be like rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, if you're familiar with that from Big Bang Theory. Not that I promote Big Bang Theory. Some of their jokes are funny. It pretty quickly became just insulting. But essentially what you've got here is that nature has these different elements. Everything in nature is built out of these elements, and they all have a natural harmony when you find them. And humans, of course, to be happy and be peaceful, should emulate nature. We should kind of take these ideas and use them to guide our principles. You have the game where you do that from Big Bang. It has moments where it's really funny. And at the early parts of the show, it really was a show for people that got the jokes. And over time, it became a show about laughing at the people that would get the jokes. And that's a subtle difference that I did not necessarily appreciate. So I kind of gave up on them. I also kind of stopped watching cable overall, so I can't necessarily say that it was purely based on that. There we are. I know it's massively popular and the people were making like gaboodles of money off of it. And I know that the spinoff Young Sheldon is like the #1 TV show on Earth right now or something like that. So there we go. So there's this idea of nature working in sort of a micro and macrocosm. So the yin yang naturalists would examine small things in nature, and they would look at how things worked on a small scale in nature, and then try to blow that up into a sort of macro idea on how that might work in the span of human existence, right? So we should look to the mushroom and see how we can learn information about the mushroom and use that to better govern our country. There's a little bit of this that I joke around. I don't know how many of you all have ever been in Art of Lee's stream. Friend of the show, really great guy. You should go follow him if you're not. But I have started a bit of a philosophy school about his chair. And it's actually based a lot off of this yin-yang naturalism, where I explain things about the chair, and then we can use them as good pieces of information to guide our life. Like, the chair supports you from the bottom, but the back as well. So we should be supportive of our friends from all around, not just when it's convenient in one direction. That kind of stuff. You get what I'm saying. Very philosophical stuff. Totally not a cult, though. Anyway, so yin-yang naturalism, pretty cool stuff. I like them a lot. They didn't do so hot, though. If you'll remember, well, some of you might not have been here last week, but Chen Shi Huang, that guy at the beginning that we talked about, really liked legalism, and he didn't really like anything else. And there's a period of time where he rounded up and burned a whole bunch of books, and the naturalists didn't come out so great. We have lost most of the yin-yang naturalist writings, and some of the stuff that survived ended up getting warped a lot and sort of became ancient Chinese alchemy. One of the big figures of yin-yang naturalism is this guy named Zhou Yan, and he ends up in later times being viewed as a wizard because he was always out digging around and coming up with these pieces of wisdom from nature. So clearly he must have been a wizard. This is what happens over time when ideas get destroyed and get perverted and twisted. People that weren't wizards become wizards. There we are. We had real life wizards, man. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about agriculturalism. That's right. There's an entire school of thought based around agriculture. And you might go, that sounds like a horrible idea. Well, it's a lot deeper than you might think. First off, this is a very old idea in China. Let me get to this new picture. China believes that way back in time, there were these mythological well, they don't call them myths, they believe that they were real, but these larger-than-life figures, including this guy whose name is Shen Nong. And Shen Nong is responsible for basically creating concepts like agriculture. Like, this dude was the original guy that figured out how to do farming, also medicine, all sorts of stuff. You see him here eating this plant, and he's eating it so that he can determine whether or not there are properties of this plant that can be used for positive things. Like, when I eat this plant, it makes my stomach ache go away. So, are those horns? Yeah, he's pictured with bumps on his head. I can't really explain why. He's a mythological figure. He was supposed to have lived like hundreds of years, and of course he's not. Is he a Tengu? No, he's not a Tengu. He does have quasi magical powers, though. He was able to survive a whole bunch of stuff. He's an interesting guy. Anyway, so he's one of these August ones. He's supposed to be one of the guys like that single-handedly invented agriculture, and agriculturalists, the people of the agricultural school of thought, maybe they're there to differentiate him from other humans, possibly. He's got them every time I've ever seen them in a picture. Every time you see Shin Nong, he's got those weird bumps on his head. Maybe he was dropped a lot as a child. Maybe his parents didn't love him enough. Extra brains. Maybe they're receptors for the aliens to beam in the knowledge from space. So agriculturalists looked at this guy, this mythological figure that existed way before the agriculturalists showed up, as the sort of founder of their philosophy. Because the story goes that he was this king of ancient China, but he also got out and worked in the fields. He was a leader by example, and that's going to be an important idea. There's another sort of mythological founder of agriculturalism, a guy named Ji. And this dude was likewise very important. He is credited with discovering how to grow millet, which was one of the earliest crops grown in China. And importantly, for some people, he's the guy that's credited with discovering how to make beer in ancient China. Mullet, not mullet, millet. Millet is a crop. Millet now is mostly used for animal feed. It is a grain. It doesn't have a lot of caloric value. It doesn't taste very good. So most of the time that it's grown now, it's grown for feeding to animals. But it was a staple crop in China for a long time before they figured out rice. So it's a pretty big deal. So Ji came up with the process of growing millet and beer. So that's his big addition. But again, he's also this sort of larger than life guy that worked out in the fields, and even though he was well-to-do, didn't use his money and power for evil. He was a wise, sort of nice guy. And this brings us to our school of thought. There's a Chinese leader named Xu Xing, who my wife yesterday thought was the philosopher who went around and told everybody to hush, like shushing. He was the shusher, which I thought was pretty cute. But no, Xu Xing is a philosopher. He lived in the 370s. He actually lived quite a long time, almost 100 years, from about 370 to about 290 BC, the shusher. And this guy was sort of the preeminent agriculturalist. He got a whole bunch of his people together, and they went to this particular state in ancient China, the state of the Tang. And he set up this agriculturalist commune where everybody worked and everybody was basically egalitarian, this sort of universal class structure thing that there weren't any sort of it was a commune in the communal communist kind of sense. Agriculturalism promoted the idea that there should not be a division of labor, that social class should not have anything to do with people working. They promoted the idea that the ruler of the country should be out farming with everybody else, and that the only money that the ruler of the country should make is based off how much he farmed, and that taxes should be paid to a common fund that was used by consent of all to better the group. This is pretty communist stuff. It's so a hippie commune. Yeah, kind of, sort of. based around people that developed agriculture and drank beer. Um, yeah. The government was supposed to exist only for protection and equality. I bet the ruler of the time agreed wholeheartedly. Well, the ruler at the time was Qin Shi Huang, who was that dragon emperor guy. And I'm sensing a little bit of sarcasm, and I'm going to reward that sarcasm with the next image. This is a pretty famous painting called The Burning of the Books. And what we see here is books being burned and philosophers being killed. Because Qin Shi Huang hated him some agriculturalists. He did not like this whole idea that they thought he should be out working beside them in the fields. He did not like this idea that they were promoting him giving up his high social class and lowering himself to the standard of the common person. Yeah. Agriculturalism didn't really make it out of the 100 schools. They were targeted really heavily. They got killed pretty hard. It wasn't pretty. And what's crazy though is that when the whole concept of the purging of ideas happened under Qin Shi Huang, Li Si, his sort of right-hand man, was behind all of this stuff. And one of the things that Qin Shi Huang said that he wanted to keep around was actually agricultural books. Like, he wanted to make sure that when they started wiping out all these ideas, they didn't wipe out ideas that were like our books or pamphlets or writings that told people how to grow stuff. So he didn't have a problem with agriculture itself. He had a problem with these people, these commune people, these you shouldn't be a giant jerk and you should work for your living people. He did not care for them at all. So the agriculturalist school did not make it out. Some of their ideas managed to kind of sneak over into other groups a little bit, but overall, there's not much agriculturalism left. We don't have very many of their writings. We have a couple of excerpts from other people that sort of cited them, but we don't have a lot of the writings of the agriculturalist school. They were almost all burned. So this is how thorough of a job that Qin Shi Huang did. When you got to get rid of the bad guys, you got to get rid of them all. Yeah, there was no such idea of pluralism of thought back then, right? Boo, I hate it. Yeah, we should not feel happy about this. The concept of destroying entire philosophies because they disagree with us. That's a dangerous idea. There are ideas that are bad, and then there are ideologies that are actually dangerous. But if you don't like them just because you disagree with them, that's a different story. You got to be careful with the purging of stuff, right? I've never actually seen any of the Purge movies. Dun 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 dun. Lone Wolf, thanks for the follow, and welcome to the adventure. Hope you're enjoying what you hear. Feel free to ask questions, chat, goof off, make bad puns, throw in some horrible jokes. We're all friends here. Okay. The next one is something that I feel like I should have made an entire stream about. Taoism. And I think I might end up making a whole stream about Taoism. Probably later when we get to the Tang Dynasty of China, because those guys really did a lot of work that sort of turned Taoism from a philosophy into a full-out religion. So we might revisit Taoism in the future. But it's important for us to recognize that they're part of this larger movement. So we'll hit a couple of their high points here. But know that Taoism is one of the more important schools of thought. They make it all the way out. And in fact, they become one of the predominant schools of thought inside of China. Seem like a down-to-earth person? I do what I can. I am not always, but yeah, things happen. I can be jerkish. I try not to be, though. So who is this guy? This guy's a dude named Lao Tzu, who is the guy that is pretty much credited with standardizing Taoism. And you see him here riding an ox. He's almost always pictured riding an ox because, there's a whole story about how he rides an ox off into the sunset and is never seen again. But basically, the ox in Chinese zodiac astrology, philosophy, etc., is a very dedicated animal. It is a long-suffering animal. It is a patient animal. It is a source of quiet strength. So this image of the ox is very frequently shown with Lao Tzu as a sort of a comparison between his quiet strength and the ox's quiet strength. So there's that. So Taoism is pretty old school. It comes all the way back from some of the earlier schools of thought. There's a little bit of the yin-yang philosophy in Taoism. There's another big influence. There's an ancient Chinese book called the AiH that they based a lot of their thoughts off of. Lao Tzu, though, is going to take these sort of disparate ideas and boil them down into one big book that's called the Tao Te Ching, which is the standardized ideology and sort of the pamphlet or handbook of Taoism. What do they believe? Well, that's a great question. Basically, in Taoism, they teach that there is something called the Tao, like this. And it just means the way. And this Tao is sort of the natural order of things, the cosmic balance, the universal equilibrium, right? This, you can see how this sort of overlaps with the yin-yang stuff that we were talking about earlier. So in Taoism, what you're supposed to do is follow a life that puts you in harmony with the Tao. And there's a term for this called Wu Wei, where you balance your action with inaction, and you balance your decision and your imposition of will, and you sort of try to go with the flow of things. You don't try to be the rock in the middle of the stream that makes the water part. You try to recognize where the water is going and go along with it. And if you first sort of look at them, it almost seems like they don't really encourage people to think very much. One of the concepts that Taoists believe in is this idea of being able to overthink a problem, where you sit down and you deliberate things and you know which way you are supposed to go, but you've thought about it and beaten yourself up about it and you've deliberated and you've either missed your window or you end up making a decision that you regret. And they would say, if you had just sort of recognized the Tao and gone with the harmony that the world was trying to point you in at that moment, your life would have been better off. So this over deliberation thing is bad for you. You're supposed to just sort of recognize things. And what I was trying to say, though, it's like when you first start learning about Taoism or studying it, it might seem like they believe in just doing everything spontaneously. Like, don't think about anything, just do it. Like, I feel like dumping this on my head, I should do it. It's not like that. They encourage spontaneity of action within the boundaries of reason and logic and philosophy. So you're not just running around being an improv person in real life. You know, you're not like, I think I should climb that tree. That's not the same thing. Like I said, Taoism gets a lot bigger. It gets expanded a lot more. In later periods of China, it becomes a full-out religion instead of just a philosophy. So we're probably going to revisit Taoism and give it another shot a little bit later on when we get to the AD time period, which is going to be a bit. I have stuff planned out all the way until until December, and in December will still be a couple hundred years from the AD period. Stuff happens a lot more quickly that's debatable and talk aboutable and coverable because people start writing a lot more stuff down the longer history goes on. So we've covered about 198,000 years of human history so far in just these last few months, but it's going to slow down a lot. Stuff happens, right? I feel like I should tell a joke. I don't really know a joke to tell, but I feel like it's an appropriate time for a joke. Somebody share a joke or something with us. I feel like we're getting stuck in the heady world. I will confess that I was slightly worried about talking a whole stream about philosophy because it's really thinky stuff, and there's not necessarily a whole lot of like super sexy activity going on. Like, hey, it's not like we're conquering nations or having giant battles. The sort of most adventure part of tonight is an emperor burning a whole bunch of books and killing a whole bunch of philosophers. That's not necessarily a high point. You're generally a thinky person, so you like this kind of stuff. Okay. Well, that makes me happy. I hope everybody else is having a good time. A little bit self-conscious about this stream, if I have to be honest with you. I feel like sometimes I indulge myself because I have a platform to speak and I can say whatever I want to and people show up and listen. And that really inflates my ego, which is pretty flippin' big to begin with. So sometimes I feel in the middle of a stream like, am I really just doing this for me, or do people really enjoy this kind of stuff? So, who knows? Thanks. And that was definitely fishing for compliments, by the way. It was mostly fishing to see who was still around. I make a point while I'm streaming to not look at the activity counter. So it was getting a little quiet, and I was hearing the crickets. I was waiting for Fid to hit me with their little cricket emotes. Okay. I'll shut up, and we'll talk about some more stuff. Let's talk about Moism. And this is the philosophy of the Three Stooges. Moism? No? Okay, I'll shut up now. Moism. It is based on the teaching of a guy named Mo Z, who sounds like he should be maybe a rapper from the 90s. This is Mo Z. He's got that good Chinese philosopher look going on. What about curlyism? I prefer shimpism. I'm a shimpite. Anyway, this is Mo Z. He is the central figure of Moism. This is a very interesting school, and for the majority of this period of time, the philosophy of being bald, I don't know. I'm working on it. My hair is getting thinner by the day. Yeah, it's not nearly as thick as it used to be. My dad's not bald, and my granddad wasn't bald, so I don't think I'll go totally bald. But I might. Who knows? We will see. I feel like if I ever go, like, if I get to the point where I know that I'm going to end up bald, I think I might just shave my head and just forget it. You know, I sounded ironic that Curly was bald. Yeah. Those old Three Stooges shows are things that would never be able to be produced today. they are relics of an older time. Are most of these pictures and images what they might have looked like? Yeah, I try to find the oldest pictures that I can. It's hard sometimes to find ancient photos of some of these people, like Shuxing, the guy that was the head of the agriculturalists. We don't have ancient pictures of him. And it's quite possibly because they were either all burned or nobody was allowed to really make a lot of art of this guy because his idea was basically banned. So I can't promise that these are accurate. Most of these are going to come from after the person's dead. But I try myself, as I'm looking for photos, to find the oldest pictures that I can. Because I feel like that is the closest possible to what they probably looked like. Or that's my thought pattern. Patrick Stewart. You could get cool, weird wigs. I don't know about wigs. Monk style hairband. Oh yeah, the tonsure. Like just do the around the side. Wear a different one every day. That might actually not be so bad. Shaved heads can be sexy. Okay. I think hair is a thing. Shaved hair could, I don't know. It takes all sorts. I'm not opposed to it. Moism, though. Moism was one of the biggest of the schools. And for a large period of time during this Eastern Zhou Warring States period, Moism was the biggest school. It had some competition from these other ones, and it was eventually overtaken by its sort of chief rival, Confucianism. And if you're wondering where Confucianism is, there will be an entire stream for Confucianism when we get to the Han Dynasty. I know for a fact. I've already got it typed out. We're going to have a stream on Confucianism. So I was going to mention it at the end, but I think it's probably okay to mention it now. Confucianism and Moism were kind of like competing. And Confucianism was always like the small dog on the totem pole. And Moism had it whipped. And what really changed this was the Han Dynasty, the first emperor of the Han Dynasty going, I think a whole country should be Confucius. And then Moism was like, alas. But it's a pretty cool philosophy, and we have a lot of stuff that's left over. A lot of it ends up getting sort of syncretized with legalism, but Moism teaches this concept called impartial compassion. And the idea is that you should, as an individual, love and care for everyone, regardless of your relationship with them. So you should love the person that you meet on the road just as much as you love your family member. And you should care for people that you see in hard times just as much as you would care for somebody that was, like your best friend. So the idea here is that you care for everybody. You give everybody the same basic value, right? So everybody has the same worthiness to be loved and cared for, which is it is a nice theology. Well, I guess it's not theology, it's philosophy. And this was an idea that sort of expanded out of just the interpersonal relationship, even to a philosophy of governance, because the government should promote its population. It should make sure that people are able to access wealth. And there was this sort of built-in relationship between wealth and your population, where Moists taught that countries should be promoting population growth. And the way to sort of, make sure that things in your world were great was to have a whole bunch of people and then treat them all nice and the same. And if your population was growing and treating everybody nice and the same, eventually it would take over the whole world, right? So in order to increase your population, you have to make sure that everybody has access to wealth. And the concept of wealth here in Moism isn't just like cash money. It's not stacks on deck or making it rain. It's the ability to take care of yourself, the ability to clothe yourself and feed yourself and house your family, the concept that people should be able to not be in poverty or not be in destitute situations. And the role of the government was not just to sort of promote this wealth, but also to promote the concept of standardization. And this is the stuff that sort of lines up with legalism. The concept here was that the government should find what is best, through trial and error or through observation, and take these best profitable practices and then standardize them across the entire population. So this would again increase the wealth of the population, therefore increasing the size of the population, therefore making everybody happier and more love in the world, right? They believed in a really strict concept of meritocracy, where you should not get a job or a position unless you actually have the value and the knowledge to do it correctly, because they would see somebody that gets promoted out of maybe nepotism, right? That would be sort of going against impartial compassion, because you would be promoting this person in this nepotist fashion based on how much you liked them more than you liked somebody else, right? So you can't show favoritism when you promote people or give them jobs, because that is betraying this idea that everybody should be treated equally. And you can see how this has a lot of appeal, especially in an ancient world. And we have to remember here that this is still very much an ancient world. And there are a lot of bad things going on in the world. There are famines, there are plagues, there are wars. And this idea that everybody should take care of everybody and promote peace and compassion, that's got a lot of appeal. And this is why during especially the Warring States period, where China was ripping itself apart for 150 years, the Mohists had a lot of popularity. When things are going really bad, everybody can get behind the idea of being a little bit more compassionate, or at least we would hope so, right? I think that the world could do with a lot more compassion right now. That's just personally my opinion. I maybe should have put on the opinion hat for that. But so there's Mohism. Now, there are a whole ton of other smaller schools that we don't know very much about, or we maybe only have one document from. We don't necessarily understand their whole belief system. Again, it's called the 100 Schools of Thought. Hello, hello. Hey, Superb Superbia. Long time no see, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Hope all is well over in your world. Hope that work is treating you well. So we're not going to go through all 100 schools. We don't actually know the names of all 100 schools. The Chinese historian, a guy named Sima Qian, wrote a big book, and he listed the 6 big ones, all of those that we have covered tonight except for Confucianism. And then he listed about 7 or 8 smaller ones. The School of Rock. Yeah, exactly. This is the school of how to use heavy metal rock. Sorry, you disappeared. Yeah, work is just... yeah, that's cool. Hey, don't feel bad about disappearing. Life happens, and it happens when we're not ready for it, and it doesn't wait for us to be ready. Just know that you always have a place to come back to. Don't ever feel bad. We don't take attendance here. Nobody gets a gold star for showing up to all the streams. You are welcome whenever you can make it. We are happy to have you whenever you can. Hello, come to Istanbul. I have been to Istanbul. It is a beautiful city, and I would absolutely love to go back to Istanbul. I had a great time in my few days there. I've been all over Turkey. Really, really nice place. I would love to go back to Turkey. School. David Peterson with the string of association here. Schoolism. I have been to Istanbul before. In 2016, I spent about 3 days in Istanbul. You guys aren't getting gold stars? Joey, you're supposed to keep that hushed. I only send those to the ones that I really like. I'm a bad Mohist. I'm not treating all of the viewers compassionately and equally. Well, greetings. Um, Let me try to say your name. Burjuva Beyfindi. Your name is Bora. There we go. I'll call you Bora. How about that? I know a little bit of Turkish. My pronunciation is very bad with Turkish. So I won't try, but I'll call you Bora. And welcome. You live in Istanbul. Yeah, it's nice. I've been to... Oh man, we walked around the city quite a bit. You can tell me something crazy. Please do. I'll continue to kind of do the thing here. Weren't you just talking about favoritism? Joey Dore with the cash money. Oh, we have an adventure hat summoning. Okay, we can do that. Summon the adventure hat. For those of you that don't know, this is the adventure hat. I take it with me when I travel. I usually end up out in the middle of nowhere where the sun is very hot and I sunburn very easily. So I bring the adventure hat with me to keep me safe. Also, I think it makes me look a little bit dashing. Sometimes if I get a little, a little bit antsy, I'll button the sides up. And I call this full adventure mode. It's like, you don't even know my final form. Oh, you can barely understand me. I'm sorry. Am I talking too quickly? I need to get a translator here. Very aerodynamic. It's like when you go all-terrain mode on your Crocs. You bend them back. Okay, so when I go out to the field, I wear the hat. And if you would like, and you have the adventure points, you can summon the hat, and I will tell a story about something that I have done when I've been out in another place on an adventure. So I'll tell you a story about when I was in Istanbul. So I was there in 2016, and I was there with another history professor and a friend, and we were mostly going out to do archaeological site surveys at several places around Turkey, looking for specific symbols. But when we were in Istanbul, we decided that we would go see some of the sites. And one of the places that we ended up finding completely without knowing that it was there was this thing called the Million Stone. And we were walking around the streets of Istanbul, and we were looking for a place to eat. And on the side of the road, this big main road, we were just walking, and there was this fenced in area. And in the middle of it was this big standing stone, and it had a little plaque that said the Million Stone. And I knew what this was, but I had no concept of where it was in the city. Istanbul is a very big city with a very large population. And it just so happened that we walked past this stone. So what's neat about this, and what I found really interesting about it, because I'm a very big fan of the Romans. The Romans had a standard unit of a mile, and they actually made mile markers. So if you walked down a Roman road, they would have mile markers that would let you know how far you had gone. And the Million Stone is the central mile marker that used to mark the very heart of Constantinople. And it was basically the 0 mile marker for all of the Roman roads in the eastern half of the empire. And we walked up on this without even knowing that it was there and without even looking at it. And it was one of the coolest sort of stumble upon history things that I've ever experienced in my life. I've got some pictures of it that I'll put up in the Discord later on. Speaking of Discord, if you want to go join the Discord, you can do that. Hi, Octa8648. Bienvenido. I've never been to Uruguay. I would love to go, though. I did eat Turkish food. I ate Turkish food for 2 whole weeks, and it was lovely. I had a doner kebab. I'm a little preferential to the Adana kebab. I like the peppers. Yeah. I had some doner. I did. It's very good food. I would love to have some right now. Wait. This is going to be great. 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so speaking of Turkish food, and this is like a bonus adventure hat. I should put the adventure hat back on. Dun-dum-dum-dum. When we were in Turkey, one of my favorite things to do when I'm in a foreign country is to eat their junk food, because I love junk food. And if I'm out sweating all day in, an archaeological site, I feel like I can afford to eat some junk food. So when I was in Turkey, I discovered my favorite kind of cookie that I have ever eaten in my life. And I brought a lot of them back with me, but I ate all of them pretty quickly. But I was able to locate an importer that is in New Jersey that imports Turkish junk food. So if you ever find Ulker Kremalis, these are the best cookies that I have ever had in my life. Ulker brand Kremali sandwich biscuits. They are delicious. I have a few of them left over. I might be eating the last ones that I have for my birthday. They're quite delicious. So I found those on an Amazon marketplace. If you want to go try to find them, you should look them up. When you went to Pathos, Greece, they weren't too fond of the Turkish people. Yeah, the Greeks and the Turks have a very long history of lots of animosity between the two groups. Each of them has done some things that are not so great. No people group in history is perfect. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, but yes, the Greek people and the Turkish people have a very, very long history of not caring for each other very much. Ulker Kremalis. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of these smaller schools of thought, and then we will actually sort of wrap up for the night. So, again, we have the big schools that we all know of, like the School of Rock and the School of Thought, and all of those other schools that David mentioned, the School of Flint, Michigan. We don't travel on camels. No, camels are not so big in Turkey. But there are several other smaller ones that we know a little bit about. One of them, and I mention this specifically because one of our mods of the channel is a guy named Mac in a lab coat. And he is a very big fan of the logical semantic argument. And there was actually a school in the 100 School of Thought called the School of Names. And their entire school is based around proper dialectical argument. So this is the right way to argue, using the right terms, being very specific in your definitions, being very direct in your argument line and words. So there we go. How many Turkish lira to a dollar? Last time I checked, it was about 3 lira to a dollar, but I'm not 100% sure. So about 3 to 1, I think, maybe more than that. I haven't checked in a long time because nobody's going anywhere with COVID, right? Oh, wow. That's gone up a lot. Yeah, that's a lot more than it was when I went. It was about 3 to 1 when I went back in 2017. Yeah. So that's the School of Names. We don't really know very much about them. Almost all of their stuff is completely lost. They are they're sort of one of the ones that gets lost in the shuffle. Another one is called the School of Diplomacy. The School of Diplomacy was all about thinking about alliances and how to build alliances between the warring states. This was very, very popular during the height of the warring states period, when everybody was trying to basically kill each other. So the School of Diplomacy became very important. It was very common for the big kings of the different kingdoms to have a member of the School of Diplomacy sort of on hand as like an ambassador sort of guide. So they had these different concepts of how to make an alliance. Should you gang up with a bunch of small people to beat up the one big guy, or should you side with the big guy to beat up the small people, and which times are good to do which ones, and what happens, and if you win on this side and you look this way, how is that going to help you, and lots of that stuff. So there's that. And the last one that we'll talk about is one that some people might have heard of because of the author. So this is Mozi, but this guy is Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu wrote a pretty important book called The Art of War, which might be the single most known Chinese philosophy book. The Art of War is all about the right way to fight battles, but it's not just about how to fight a bad guy. It's how to sort of approach struggles in life, and it's become wildly popular in the West as the lots of Fortune 500 companies are like, hey, have you read Sun Tzu's Art of War? Sun Tzu was from this school of militarism, which was based around properly organizing armies and fighting and making strategic thoughts and decisions and things like that. And that, of course, that philosophy can be applied to other regions of life. Anytime that you come into conflict with somebody, you can look at it like a battle and use some philosophy to sort of get around these obstacles and targets and things like that. So that's pretty much the schools of thought. We didn't go through all 100. We only went through about 10. But that's that. That is pretty much all that I had, and we're going to get out of here right about on time, which is about where I thought we would end up. Anybody have any questions or want to say anything, or anybody want to redeem some points or do some stuff or bring up some things? Anybody been watching the news and want to get my take on news stuff? Don't forget, there's a lot of stuff down there under your chat. Lots of points that you can spend. You graduated from architectural restoration. There's a lot of that going on in Istanbul right now. talking about news, do opinion stuff, call up the puppy. Anybody want to do any of that stuff? Otherwise, okay. Okay. Let me put the opinion hat on. All right. So I've put on the opinion hat. There you are. Okay, so the debate. As you might see again, I have the opinion hat on. We've got lots of stuff going on. Thoughts on Hagia Sophia? Well, that would be another opinion hat, perhaps for later. Do you remember any Turkish words? I remember marhaba for hello. I think merhaba. Yeah. See, my pronunciation is bad. Yeah. Okay. I remember like luften is please. Yeah. I don't remember very many words. I have a few like, that stuff. I don't. Yeah, see, like I've lost all of that. I don't know any of those. Okay. So the opinion on the debate. First off, I should note, I did not watch the debate. Dun 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 dun. Thank you for the follow, Boro. And welcome to the adventure. So I didn't watch the debate, and I will explain to you why I didn't watch the debate. I knew that there was basically no way that anything that happened in the debate would change my mind on anything. I did not think that either of the candidates would be able to do anything that would substantially change my opinion on the candidates. And I suspected that the actual value of the debate would be negligible because I just expected them to yell at each other. And from what I have heard, that's basically all that happened. And I honestly think at this point in this particular political cycle that we should just cancel the rest of the debates. At this point, if you don't know who you're going to vote for, I don't know what could happen that would make you change your mind. Jake Tapper summed it up. A hot mess inside of a dumpster fire inside of a train wreck. Wow. That's pretty much what I've heard. So I don't think at this point that there are any real benefits to continuing to allow certain things a platform. I think that it would be just as beneficial for the candidates to give pre-recorded speeches. It might actually be better and less, I don't know. I'm really tired of this political cycle. I'm really tired of a lot of stuff that's going on in politics. I think that common decency has been thrown out the window. And I think that nobody is really interested in showing a lot of compassion to the other side anymore. Part of that is because there are problems that are legitimate issues. Like, if you don't think that another human has basic human rights, there's a big problem. And if you're not going to be honest and open and have a dialogue between people, I don't think that I need to be in your area space. So I agree that the rest should be canceled. Yeah, you'd watch them if they actually enforce the debate rules. That would require
people to follow the rules, and I think that we learned that certain people are not going to follow the rules. So again, I don't see the benefit. Good to see you, Bora, and thanks for coming by. You have a short temper for people interrupting. So otherwise, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't like a lot of the stuff that's going on with the government. I don't like a lot of stuff that's going on with the media. I think that people have substituted being told what to think for actually thinking, and I think that covers both sides. I think that everybody needs to sort of come back to a center position, and if you're not willing to have an open and honest dialogue, I think you just need to shut up. Because if you're just adding to the noise, you're not helping anybody. You're just hurting people. So that's my opinion on it. If you're just adding to the noise, just shut up. I hope you do not have a reality TV star as the president after the election. Well, there is a better than zero chance that we will. And I don't think that the Democratic side should underestimate the voter turnout and support of President Trump. And I don't think that it is a lock. And if I had to bet money right now on whether or not he would get reelected, I would say that he's going to get reelected. So, you have the same opinion then? That's why I hope. Yeah, I hope too. Hope is a powerful thing. So there's your opinion hat. I know that wasn't 100% about the debate specifically, but that was my opinion on the debate overall. Because I didn't watch it, and I'm not going to watch any of the other ones. The only thing that would have happened had I watched that was my blood pressure go up through the roof and me get really mad. You just want a government that thinks I deserve to have basic human rights. I absolutely agree. No, it's good. You have a lot of channel points. You can just throw them out. Also, Electoral College. Well, yeah. Electoral College is an interesting concept. I don't really know how to necessarily go about that. That would be a whole other stream just to talk about the Electoral College. Why they made it, why it stays around, what the purpose of it is. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. Alrighty. Anybody else want to just throw some points out there? We can do this as long as you all are interested. I'm fine talking. I have no problem talking. I think everybody's figured that out by this point. I enjoy everybody hanging out too. I really do. The fact that you all would spend your time hanging out and chatting is good stuff. I try to get back into watching Twitch streams, even though I don't think it's going to work. Again, superb. You can show up whenever you want to, my friend. You can watch the VODs. I know they're not exactly the same because you don't get the same level of interaction. But, grad school, it's a tough thing. I've been there. I'm back there. I know that it wears on you. So don't feel bad. You can show up when you can show up. And we'll be happy when you're here, and we'll think fondly of you when you're gone. Oh, you want to see the puppy? Okay, let's get the puppy. She might be asleep. I haven't heard her moving around lately. Oh, here's the puppy. Come on. Were you asleep? Are you stretching? Oh, come on. Come here. Come and see me. Come here. Hey. Come here. Where are you going? Come over here. Come here. Come see me. Oh, there's the puppy. Oh, yes. Oh, hello, Katie. You have such a big fan base. They love you. Hey, where are you going? Come here. Come here. Come here. What are you? Oh, you're itching? You're going to itch? Hey. Hey. Hey, come see me. Okay. Where are you going? She's been very itchy lately. And there she goes. She was probably asleep. I need a puppy emote. Well, you might be surprised that my wife has said the exact same thing. And I actually have a photo that I might use as a puppy emote. I'd have to Photoshop it up and get it all straightened out so that I could submit it. I'm a little bit disturbed that I don't have the emote that I submitted last week. I submitted an emote last Thursday night. Our second tier 1 emote. We have hit that magical number of subscribers where I was able to unlock a second tier 1 emote. And I submitted it. Graythor, we just hit, how far are we to another one? I think the next one is like at 30 subscribers. That's way up there. I don't know exactly for sure though. I'd have to go look at the Twitch things. They just recently changed a lot of how they do emotes and stuff. So I submitted it last Thursday, and when I submitted my first one, man, it took them like maybe 2 days to approve it. It's taken them a week to approve this one, and I'm not sure where it went. Oh yeah, we did get it. We got it last Thursday night. Right at the end, we got the one more that we needed, so we are at the Magic 2 emote slot. So maybe a bunch of people submitted some at once, maybe so, but I might have made the Twitch gods angry. Who knows? Who knows? All right, so let's go do a raid. Who is around? Might be a lot more streamers now with COVID. Yeah. I know COVID got me into streaming. I know where we're going to go. Kirk Shannon is around. Yeah, so let me give you the school of raid thought. Like if I was a Chinese philosophy and had a thought like the school of raiding. My thoughts are that I should use the power of the raid to introduce people to as many people as possible. And by introducing you to as many people as possible, that gives you the widest experience possible. That also can be used to support people that have helped me out, people that have been very kind to me, and it also helps me help out other streamers that are on the way up. So I think we're going to go raid Cassidy Austin Art. She raided us on Tuesday. She's a new streamer, but she's very talented. She's got a background in Renaissance art studies. She studied in Italy for several years, lived in Florence. She does oil paintings. She's quite good at it, and she just popped up online. So I think we're going to go raid her. So give her some love. Be very nice. And you all are nice people. I'm not trying to y'all be nice. But I think this will sort of give you somebody new to go see. So we're going to spread the love. As always, our raid cry is adventure. And if you have them, throw the adventure hats. Otherwise, you're not nice, you're Brian. Always back to the Brian. I'm not. Thanks, Motivic. I'm glad that you had a good one. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Remember that we will not be having a Tuesday stream, so I will see you all next Thursday. There is a chance that I might do something on Tuesday on the Discord, like a viewer chat. It's my birthday, so I can't really have a birthday party. Not that I would really have one anyway, but we might do like a Discord hangout or something. If you want to go join the Discord, please do. Feel free to share memes, goof off, chat, share history. I have the same birthday as your mom. Tuesday, October the 6th, yes. It's a small world, ain't it? There we go. Fun times. What would be really crazy is if we were the same age and we were actually born on the same day. I won't ask you how old your mom is because you're never supposed to ask how old a lady is. I was born in 1983 and I'll be 37. So, probably not old enough to be your dad. That really reinforces the 30 people in a room birthday problem. You were born in 89, so no. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hit this button. We're going to start this raid. I'll switch over to the outro screen. I hope everybody has a good one. Hope everybody is keeping your head above the water in the crazy world that we live in. Remember the fortune of the stream. This actually came from a fortune cookie, so you can't deny it. Up. Focus. We all have a lot more in common than it seems. And the fortune cookie said so you gotta believe it. All right, ladies and gents. I will see all of you next time. I hope you have a good one. Thanks again for hanging out. And I'll see you next time.